Today, Donald Burns, the man, the myth, the legend, is going to talk about menu engineering. Donald, I got nothing else to say. You got the microphone.
This is awesome. I love this one. Yeah, menu engineering, crafting profitable experiences. Of course, I like to start off with a quote. One of my favorite quotes in the world is this: restaurant success isn't rocket science, it is people science. And I'm going to say, hey, for being here today, stick around to the very end, and I'm going to give Luke a free gift to give to you for being on the webinar today. I have a really cool ebook. It is my menu design Bible, 87 pages of everything I know about menu design. We'll give you a PDF copy of that book, but you got to stick around to the end. All right. That's the price of admission. You got to stay.
Love that. I'm excited for it.
House rules. Of course, we got to lay down some house rules. Hey, I want you to have some fun. Learning's always best when it's accompanied by enjoyment. Ask questions if something piques your interest. There's a couple ways. You can either type it in the chat. You can either type it in the Q&A button, and we can answer at the end of the call. I will have a little time set aside for Q&A, and that's a great thing. But remember, don't be confused. If you have a question, speak up. And remember, hashtag WTSD. If you were on the webinar last week, you're going to see this every week. Hashtag WTSD. What does hashtag WTSD mean? It means write this shit down. These are the gold nuggets. Not just a cool hashtag. Research has shown if you write stuff down in your own handwriting, you are 70% more likely to remember the information 30 days from now. And that's my goal. My goal is to give you gold nuggets that you can just walk away with and actually implement into your restaurant, start seeing results. This is where the rubber meets the road. It's cool to get on these webinars. You got to take these tools, you got to pick them up and apply them. If we've never met before, I am Donald Burns. I am the restaurant coach. I'm a recovering restaurant owner. I'm a consultant. I've been a chef. I was an executive chef with Wolfgang Puck for 5 years. I'm also an author. I have quite a few books out there. I am a restaurant investor, and I'm a former U.S. Air Force pararescueman. My days in the military taught me a lot about teamwork, special operations, peak performance, mindset. And I started my restaurant journey as an owner in 1995. That's my very first restaurant, small little place, 50 seats. That's me in the middle. I had a beard back then. I thought it was cool. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know. But like a lot of restaurant owners, I thought opening a restaurant and having experience in a restaurant business was all I need to be successful. And of course, it did not happen like that. Luckily, a businessman who became my first business coach took me under his arm and mentored me. And he kind of gave me this analogy. He said, Donald, if I gave you a 3-digit lock and I said, open the lock, could you? I said, no, not without the combination. He said, exactly. He goes, but what if I tell you the combination of restaurant success? I said, that would be awesome. And he said, well, here's the secret to the other side of the secret. It's not only knowing the combination, you have to have the combination in the right order. And this is where most restaurants go wrong. This is where a lot of people go wrong. This is probably where you're gone wrong too, and why you're not getting the results you want with your restaurant. The combination is 3 things: it is people, product, and process. People, product, process. You have all 3 in your restaurant right now, and I'll tell you why you have the combination wrong. Most of you started with product, the menu, and then you realize, oh, probably need some recipe cards, a couple checklists, probably need a P&L. Oh, and then I probably need some better people. I need to train my people better. Remember this: people feeds process, process feeds people. What does that mean? Every month, someone will call me and say, Donald, my team's not following the checklist. I'll say, what the hell? How come? What's wrong with the checklist? And they'll say, nothing's wrong with the checklist. You gave me the checklist. I'll say, all right, if the checklist is good, it's the people part. They don't know what the culture is. They haven't bought into the core values. They don't know why it's important, or you might have the wrong people on the team. Same thing. I'll get everyone once a month. Hey, Donald, I'm frustrated. Why are you frustrated? Well, I went home to walk the dogs. I come back. All these kids are on their phone. They're texting. They're watching Snapchat, watching TikTok videos. They're not cleaning, doing stuff. Do you have processes in place? Do you have time processes in place? 11 o'clock do this, 12 o'clock do this, 1 o'clock do that. No, but they should know what to do. They don't know what to do. You have to tell them what to do, right? People feeds process, process feeds people. When the 2 work together, they form a protective barrier around your product, which is the same thing as saying people and process protect your brand. Now, I've taken that 3P framework that my first mentor gave me, and I've extrapolated it out into the actual framework and roadmap for restaurant success. It is called the 3P framework. And you will see this probably on every call we do. I will etch it into your brain. You will see it in the middle of the night. You will wake up going 3P framework. You will start screaming it like crazy. But that's my goal. I want to remind you of the stuff we talk about in these webinars. They are tools, but tools are just potential. You have to pick the tools up and apply them. Today, we're going to dig into your menu. My favorite quote about menus, especially with menu engineering, is from Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. And the quote is this: perfection is achieved when there is nothing left to take away. Ooh, look at your menu. Is there something maybe we need to take away from your menu? Is there something we need to streamline it down to? Today, we're going to dig into what's known as the science of menu engineering. And there's a lot of misconceptions about menu engineering. Now, when we talk about menu engineering, I talk about a lot. There's a program that we offer. It's the Restaurant Accelerator. I'm not going to go too much into it. The Restaurant Accelerator is a bunch of different modules. The Restaurant Accelerator, what we're going to talk about today, kind of lives in between the Food Cost Bootcamp and the Extreme Menu Makeover. So I'm going to give you a little bit of the Food Cost Bootcamp, and I'm going to give you a little bit of Extreme Menu Makeover. We're going to kind of go over a little bit of both today. That's where it lives in the Restaurant Accelerator program. So that being said, what is menu engineering? Well, there's a lot of ways to look at menu engineering. Menu engineering is a systematic approach to analyzing and strategically optimizing a restaurant's menu to maximize profitability. Now, the process involves assessing each menu item's popularity and profitability. And then we organize them and highlight dishes in a way that encourages guests to choose the higher margin items. That's what menu engineering is. When we take these principles and we apply them with menu psychology, we also apply them to marketing, and we also use data analysis. Menu engineering is going to help restaurateurs make, number one, going to make you a lot better informed decisions about what dishes to promote, adjust, or even take off. Now, everyone talks about menu design, and everyone loves to do a fresh menu design. And a lot of restaurants do their menu every month. Some do every 6 months, sometimes a year. In the chat right away, just so I know who I'm dealing with, how many times a year do you update your menu? Is it every 6 months? Is it every month? Is it once a year? Type in the chat, how many times a year do you update your menu? Once a year we got. So far, I got one a year. All right. I got every 6 months. I got twice a year. Yes. Most people I know, most of my restaurants, they usually do seasonally. They usually do a spring, summer set, and they usually do a fall, winter set. I highly recommend, if you are rotating your menu, you should do at least a minimum of twice a year. Now, when we talk about menu engineering, though, you're going to look at your menu engineering stuff every quarter. Why? Because it's really, really critical to drive the profitability, and also how I'm going to actually make my menu a lot more profitable. Because during that 6 month period, some things might change. Like how many people had some really cool stuff on your menu, and then supply chain like ran crazy and you couldn't get the items. You're like, oh my God, it's a great item, but now I can't get any more if we had to make some changes. So we want to make sure we're adjusting this stuff automatically. Now, a new menu design by itself, I will tell you the truth here. A new menu design, just taking a fresh new menu, some new paint on the wall, it'll pop your sales up 5%. But here's the thing you want to take note of. A well-engineered menu can increase your profits 15% or more. That's the power of a very, very well-engineered menu. Okay? So let's talk about how menu engineering can increase profits 12 to 15%. Well, there's a couple ways we can do it. I'm going to give you a little checklist. We're going to talk about some of the do's, some of the don'ts. I'm going to give you some real world tactics to take away from today, some gold nuggets that you can actually apply to your restaurant. When done correctly, menu engineering it can significantly boost your bottom line. And I'm going to give you a real live case study of how I did it with somebody. It was in my coaching program. But what it does is, again, it takes this profitability and popularity analysis. So many restaurant owners, they figure out their food cost. And if you've never cost out your food, your menu, and you first figure your food cost, sometimes they call me in a panic. Oh my God, Donald, I just did my food costing, and this menu item is a 36% food cost. I need to take it off the menu. And I'll say, wait. Or They'll run their product mix report off their POS system and they, oh my God, Donald, I don't sell any of those items. I should take it off the menu. I'll say, wait. There is a juxtaposition between profitability and popularity that we want to look at. That's what menu engineering does. It doesn't take one or the other. We take the kind of combination of both to find the sweet spot. It also is going to allow us, when we do a really good menu engineering worksheet, it's going to tell me where to place the stuff, strategic placement and design. Certain menu psychology things like recency effect, priming, anchoring, these are psychological tools that we talk about in Extreme Menu Makeover, that when you use these tools effectively, especially when I know the price of my items and where I can put it on the menu, I can stimulate sales and stimulate profitability just by putting things on certain spots on the menu. I will tell you without a shadow of a doubt, if I knew what your menu engineering worksheet was without changing the prices of anything on your menu, just allowing me to look at the menu engineering worksheet and restructuring your menu by putting stuff in certain order on certain pages and certain columns, I could easily stimulate your sales and your profitability 10 to 15% easily without changing a price. That's the power of menu engineering done properly. Okay. Also, it also takes into account of psychological pricing. We can actually use psychological pricing tactics and techniques and like make expensive items appear more reasonable. We can use decoy pricing. This is also called priming. We can also make an item seem less experienced because you use a thing called charm pricing, where, you know, you've heard end in like 99 or 97. Also, taking away stuff like dollar signs. That's a thing called somatic salience. When I take away the dollar signs from the menu, actually people will spend 8% more when I take the dollar signs off my menu. It's a huge trick right there. Just taking the dollar signs off your menu is a huge psychological trick. And then, of course, menu simplification. By doing a menu engineering worksheet, I understand exactly where we have stuff we have too much of, or maybe we don't have enough of. Where are the gaps on our menu? Where are the voids? How can we make the menu a lot more profitable and also a lot more cohesive? So it helps us with menu simplification too. That will help me decrease kitchen complexity, helps me decrease waste. And we all know waste is a killer of food cost. It's also going to be able to guide the guest to a more profitable items. There's a thing in menu psychology. It's called menu cannibalization. Menu cannibalization is the kind of philosophy that if I have too many items on a menu that are the same category, they cannibalize each other. And you see this on restaurants that have like, I had a client who had like 12 different burgers. And why do you have 12 different burgers? Well, we have the ingredients. Remember this. Hashtag, write this down. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Okay. Just because you can put 12 different burgers on the menu doesn't mean you should put 12 different burgers on the menu. Because when you have 12 different burgers on the menu, they cannibalize each other. And then you don't know which one's going to be like the real superstar. And then when I have like the food, I look at the food costing, it's like, wow, some of these you shouldn't even have on the menu because the food cost is so bad. We should take those off, allow the ones that have a better chance to survive to actually get the sales up there. Okay. So that being said, cross-selling and upselling. By knowing where the stratifications are on my menu, I can easily help you teach your team how to promote high profit items. And also we could do what we call is upselling, cross-selling, and downselling. Most restaurants heard of upselling as a common technique. A lot of people never heard of cross-selling and downselling. Those are also two powerful sales techniques that we can teach a team to actually increase our profitability and also increase our sales. Okay. Enhances ticket size and everything else. So let's talk about some of the potential cost of incorrect menu engineering. And there's a lot of bad information out there, a lot of bad juju about incorrect menu engineering. So if menu engineering is done incorrectly, or if you don't do menu engineering, here's what could happen. You could eliminate an item that actually could be highly profitable. So again, this goes back to hastily removing dishes that are perceived as low performers without understanding their appeal could actually alienate your guest, and that would lower your frequency of guests. And when Luke and his team are trying to get more guests to come in your restaurant, the last thing you want to do is fight with his team and get people pissed off and not coming back because you don't have the menu items that they want on there. So don't eliminate items hastily. Number two, again, misjudge pricing. Overpricing items based solely on cost without considering market tolerance. There's a couple things in menu psychology. You are either one of two. In the market you're in right now, you're either market driven or demand driven. Okay. Market driven or demand driven. What does that mean? Market driven. You're the only falafel place in town. You own the market. So you're market driven. Now, you're a burger place in Chicago, and there are 50 other burger places within a mile of your restaurant. You are now called demand driven. You can only charge what the market will bear or what the market will demand. It's very, very important you understand, what are you at? Are you a market driven concept or are you demand driven? Now, also that goes even deeper into your menu. You have some items on your menu, like your signature items, that are market driven because they're signatures. So we can get into a lot of different, kind of a lot of like little rabbit holes here about your menu and different kind of psychology about it. But misjudge pricing. The worst thing you can do about pricing, please, 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 if I ever ask you, how'd you come up with that price? Do not say that's what the guy down the street charges. I love that one. How'd you get the price of that? That's what they charge down the street. Then I'll say, how do you know they're making money? I don't. That's right. You don't know what their overhead is. You don't know if they own the building. You know what their cash flow is. You don't know. Never price based on the competition. You set your own pricing. Right. And another thing with bad menu engineering is neglected brand alignment. You start having pricing strategies that don't align with your restaurant's brand. And then what you do is you reposition your brand in the market. Luke can tell you from a marketing thing, there's called market positioning. And your brand is positioned in the market at a certain spot. And as long as you keep everything where it's supposed to be at, you maintain your market position. Now, if you go in and change something, you basically reposition your brand. And when you do that, things don't work anymore. The menu doesn't work, the service doesn't work, the marketing doesn't work, because you've repositioned your brand. I see this a lot when brands get crazy and try to be everything to everyone. Right? Desperation does not mean throw more shit at it. Okay, it does not. I know a lot of people think that doesn't. And of course, poor menu engineering contributes to an overcomplicated menu. This is where we just like throwing stuff around. We don't know what's hitting, what's not hitting, what's working, what's not working. We got to make sure we're doing everything the best way. So let me give you 9 common menu engineering mistakes. Write these down. These are really, really important. Number 1, ignoring data. Not using sales data, profitability, and guest feedback to make informed decision leads to assumptions rather than actual performance. Number 1 is ignoring data. Number 2, overloading the menu. Having too many items on your menu can overwhelm the guest. There's a thing called threshold. There's also a thing called when people get too confused, too many options is stressful. They call it in psychology paradox of choice. If you ever want to understand that, there's a couple great books out there on paradox of choice. Paradox of choice is like too many options makes people really nervous. And then they always go to the fallback, which if you've ever been to a restaurant, ever taken an order, if you've ever seen anybody just kind of shake their head and go, I'll just have, when they say I'll just have, that's a sign that you've reached threshold. That you basically got, and you usually order the chicken salad, the Caesar salad, right? I just have the Caesar salad. I'll just have a burger. Right. Number 3, underestimating the importance of layout. Placing items randomly without understanding eye movement patterns, such as the golden triangle. I'll talk about the golden triangle a little bit. This is very, very important to understand where diners' eyes typically go. Number 4, neglecting item descriptions. Failing to craft compelling descriptive text for menu items leads to underperformance of potentially proper dishes. I talked about that Extreme Menu Makeover. One of the modules in the Extreme Menu Makeover is creative menu writing. I'll show you how to actually write better menus by actually writing better copy for the menu. Right? Number 5, static menus. This goes back to not updating your menu regularly. You want to at least rotate your menu at least twice a year. That's like the ideal. I would say that was like premium. Twice a year is like ideal. Right. I made a mistake at my first restaurant. Actually, my second restaurant. My second restaurant, I thought it was going to be really, really cool, and I was going to change the menu every month. And it pissed off my team and it pissed off my guests because it was too much, too fast, and they wanted a little more time. So I had to realize that was a mistake. So we went back to a seasonal change of the menu. Right. Number 6, inconsistent pricing, setting prices based solely on cost rather than considering perceived value. That leads to either overpriced items or underpriced items that hurt profitability. So many restaurants get desperate and they fear that their prices might be too high, so they cut their value down and cut their prices down to be competitive. If your restaurant menu is bought considered on price, you are a commodity. Commodities are traded on price alone. And who wins? Lowest price. Right? All the burger restaurants, all the taco restaurants, they are commodities. They get traded by who has the best price. Okay. Lack of testing. Another thing of lack of testing is not testing menu item concepts, layouts, or prices in a controlled environment. All new menu items should be tested as a feature or as a special before they earn a spot on the menu. That's your chance for number 1, for your team to get the cost down. Also for your service team to get used to the item and also see how the guests receive it. All right. So always test out menu items before they become a regular on the menu. Right. Number 7, ignoring the cost of ingredients. Ooh, failing to regularly review and adjust your fluctuations of ingredient cost will erode your margins faster than anything. Number 1 thing you should have, if you don't have one, you should have a food costing program, not a spreadsheet, a program. There are really, really cheap, easy, affordable programs out there. There's Get Filet, has 2 L's. There's Get Me's, very, very affordable programs for anybody that has a restaurant. You should have a food costing software that imports your invoices and will automatically update your food cost in real time. That's the most important thing to do. Right. And number 9, poor training on menu items, not adequately training your staff on the benefits and selling points of different menu items. That's going to result in a huge amount of missed opportunities to promote higher profit margin items. So that being said, let's talk real quick about 7 myths of menu engineering. So menu engineering has a lot of misconceptions out there, and there's a lot of myths around menu engineering. Number 1 is that people say, and I hear these restaurant consultants all the time, and they drive me crazy. Menu design is menu engineering. No, menu design is not menu engineering. Menu engineering is not just about the design. It is about the psychology and pricing and profitability plus the design. Menu design is very, very powerful. And yes, and I've asked people, has your menu been menu engineered? Yeah, we just redesigned it. That's not menu engineering. That's just redesigned. Okay. Menu engineering is not menu design, and menu design is not menu engineering. Another common myth about menu engineering is that more options are better. Some people think that a more extensive menu satisfies guests. However, remember, too many choices goes to paradox of choice, and that leaves guests overwhelmed, and it negatively affects your kitchen efficiency. Right. Number 3, higher prices always increase profits. Not necessarily. Simply raising prices to increase profitability can easily backfire if it's not done considering the guest perception or competitor pricing. Okay, especially if you're at that commodity pricing point. If you're down there, you don't want to start jacking up your prices too fast, too soon. Right. Number 4, lowering prices always attracts more guests. No. Lowering prices does increase volume, but here's the thing, it doesn't necessarily contribute to overall profitability, especially when those price cuts cut into your margins, right? You cannot discount your way to savings, to profitability. I see restaurants do this all the time. I had a guy talk to me about a month ago, He had not raised his prices in 3 years. He was afraid to raise his prices. I said, you have to raise your prices. I just can't. I can't. There's nothing I can do for you then. If you're not willing to raise your prices, you're just going to bleed out eventually. Because I don't know if you noticed, but food has gone up in cost than what it was 3 years ago. And he is so afraid of losing guests. Whereas you got to understand, there's a thing in NLP. I teach neuro-linguistic programming. There's a thing in NLP called perceptionist projection. Perceptionist projection is this: if I think it's true for me. If you do not raise your prices on a regular basis, two things happen. And they might be true, they might not be true. Number one, the guests might think, wow, you are the nicest people in the world. You have not raised your prices in years. That is the nicest thing in the world. All right. I don't know how long they're going to stay in business. Or two, and this is usually the one they think, they must be buying cheaper stuff. Because no one could, I know I go to the grocery store. I know milk, all my stuff's gone up in pricing at the grocery store. How can they keep having the same prices and not charge more? They must be buying cheaper product. Is it true? Probably not. You're probably buying the exact same stuff, maybe even better than you were years ago. But if you don't raise your prices, perception's projection, the guest assumes that you're buying cheaper stuff. Okay. Number 5, any promotion is good for business. Luke will tell you this right now. Not all promotions are beneficial. Promotions need to be carefully analyzed to ensure they don't unnecessarily erode profit margin or devalue your restaurant's offering. Number 6, costly dishes are always high margin. Just because a dish is expensive doesn't mean it's highly profitable. Like most steakhouses, they have like their steaks are $50-$60 and their food cost on that is like usually in the 40%. Right? High ingredient costs can mean that the item actually contributes less to the bottom line than a cheaper dish. And then number 7, profitability comes from bestsellers only. Oh, if that was only true. Popularity often contributes significantly to sales, but focusing only on those items can miss opportunities to improve and promote the other high margin items that require better positioning and promotion. We're going to talk about those things in a second. When we talk about menu stratification, this is the golden rule, right? There are 3 tools you need to do menu stratification. This is what we call real menu engineering, not that bullshit where I'm just going to move some stuff around my menu and say it's menu engineered. No, this is where we do like real menu engineering. This is where we have 3 tools. Number 1, and please make sure you do this. You got to know your food cost. That means down to the penny. There's 2 numbers in the food cost world we talk about. We talk about theoretical, we talk about actual food cost. Most restaurants know actual food cost. That means you take your invoice to divide it by your sales and you think that's your food cost. That's not your food cost. That's your actual food cost. There's another number that's hidden beneath the surface called your theoretical food cost. This is where you cost out everything on the menu down to the penny. If you notice that number there in the big red, that's 9%. The average restaurant has a gap between theoretical and actual food costs of 9%. Just by understanding your theoretical and actual food cost variance and giving you some simple tools to close that gap, we can usually find 5% added to your bottom line within 60 days. I swear, this is like the number 1 low-hanging fruit. Restaurants that start with my coaching program, that start with a restaurant accelerator, usually are at 5% profit. 5% profit is like you're like on thin ice, and you know, 1 extra grape and you're going to crack. Okay, it's like it's not a lot of error at 5%. 5% more on top of that is just by understanding your food costs. Getting to 10%, at least you got some breathing room now. And now we can start implementing some of these menu engineering tools. We can start implementing some of Luke's marketing. The SkyTel marketing team can start really turning on the floodgates and get you the money and get you the volume you need, but you won't be bleeding out. All right. So number 1, you got to know your food costs. So when we talk about menu engineering, you need 3 tools. 1, food cost. Got to know your food cost. Number 2, you need a menu engineering worksheet. This is a worksheet that all my clients get. It is an easy one to do, but if you notice, you have to know your cost to be able to do the sheet properly. The other thing you need for this worksheet to work properly is you need a POS system that does a product mix report or a PMix. Now, I like to do a PMix report for 90 days. Why 90 days? Because it gives me a good snapshot of everything that's going on for 90 days. That's why I like to run a 90-day PMix. Anything less than 9 days, like some people say, can I do a 30-day PMix? You could, but it's not going to be as accurate. All right, it's going to give false data because maybe, like, let's just say April was an off month and maybe you sold a lot more like Italian subs than you normally do. And you might think, wow, Italian sub was our #1 seller. So that's our #1, our best thing. But then May comes along and now people are onto the burger. So that's why I like to do a 90-day PMix report. So 90 days PMix or product mix report, you need that. So to do this worksheet, you need just 2 pieces of data. Actually 3. I lied. Need to know your food cost, the cost of each item on the menu, what it cost. So I need the food cost. I need the product mix report, how much I sold. And I need to know what the current price is I sell it at. So basically, the only thing you change on here are the columns in white. So the B column, you put in the number sold. That's from your product mix report. The D column is the item's food cost. That comes from your theoretical food cost. What is the raw cost of that ingredient? And then column E is the item sell price. That's what your price is on the menu. When you put it across there, it's going to give you some beautiful, beautiful numbers here. It's going to give you what this last column here is S, called menu stratification. It's going to give you this one box in the middle. It's going to tell you what your food cost is for this category, which is like this one right here. This is an example one. Going to say 29.1 is their theoretical food cost for this, right? And if you want to know what food cost should I be running, you should be running around 2% above theoretical. So this menu worksheet you have here has different tabs. So I usually have and I just break it down by categories on my menu. I have an appetizer tab, soups and salads tab. Maybe I have sandwiches. Maybe I have pizzas. Maybe I have entrees. Maybe I have desserts. I have all the tabs. I do a tab for every area on my menu. And then after that, I take the average of each tab, total it up, divide by the number of tabs. It tells me what my total theoretical is. Everyone understand that? Pretty simple. Pretty cool. Awesome. If you need help on that, just reach out to me. All right. I can easily help you with that. All right. But you got to have those 3 numbers. You got to know a product mix report to know the number sold, column B. You got to know your theoretical food cost, the raw cost of everything on the menu as a plate, right? It goes in column D. And you got to know what your menu price is now. That's column E. The only 3 columns you fill out is that. Then all the other columns are Excel spreadsheet magic. Has formulas in there, which will calculate everything else. Now, after you know that, then you want to use what's known as a stratification kind of key. There are 4 key stratifications when we're talking about menu engineering. And this is based on that profitability popularity matrix. If an item is profitable and popular, it's called a star. If it's profitable but not popular yet, it's called a puzzle or a challenge. If it's popular, I mean, it sells like crazy, but it's not very profitable, it's called a plow horse or a workhorse. And if it's not popular and it doesn't make any money, it's called a dog. Okay. So let's break these down a little bit more because there's different strategies for each area that we want to look at. Okay. So key components of menu stratification. Number 1, we look at the item analysis. So sales volume, analysis of sales data on each item to identify which items are best sellers or which are underperforming. Profitability, this goes back to popularity and profitability, okay? Calculate the profit margin of each item across the cost of ingredients and the selling price. This helps identify which item contributes to the bottom line, right? So again, looking at our stratification, it's popularity and profitability, not one or the other. Please do not make the mistake. A lot of restaurant owners get stuck on one or the other. They think, oh, it cost me too much to make. I should take it off. No, don't. Or it doesn't sell. I should take it off. No, don't. I'm going to show you how to fix these categories too in a second. Okay. So let's go back through these categories and take notes of these. Stars, highly profitable, highly popular. These items are your core menu items and they should be prominently featured. Right? Puzzles. Now, these items are highly profitable, but they're not popular yet. They have potential. And this is where you need to market them or maybe adjust recipes to increase sales. Plow horses, these are low profitability, but they're really, really popular. And this is where we consider, like, sometimes these are comfort items that people just tend to buy all the time, but they don't really contribute a lot to the profits. We can adjust these things. and I'll show you some different ways to adjust them. Dogs are dogs. Low profit, low popularity. These are the items that first get on the chopping block. These are the items that take off. And I will tell you now, after working with over 2,800 restaurants for 14 years, and you will find this to be true, the dogs are the items you love. I hate to tell you this, but it's true. The dogs are always the items the owners love or the chefs love. Like, oh man, I love that item. I'm not taking it off. That's a great item. If no one's buying it, doesn't make you money, and it's not, this isn't about your ego, take it off the menu. Okay, please, please, please. Don't let your ego write checks you can't cash. All right. So, puzzles. How do we fix a puzzle? 2 ways to fix a puzzle. Placement, this is where we go back to menu psychology. Placing it on a different spot in the menu, like I could put it at the top of the column or the bottom of the column, it'll sound better. I could put a box around it to draw attention to it. I could change the font on it. I could change the color of the font, or promotion. On your social media right now, when you're promoting stuff on your social media, you should only be promoting your stars and puzzles. Please, for the love of all that is holy, do not promote on social media your plow horses. This is another area where restaurant owners go crazy. It's really popular, Donald. I should promote it, but it doesn't make you any money. Why are you making busier and you're not making any money on it? Promote the items that are going to make you some money. Promote your puzzles. Right? Promote your puzzles. Promote your stars. That's the only 2 you should be promoting, puzzles and stars. Definitely don't promote the dogs. I know you want to save the dog. I know you want to try to get it to resurrect and come back from the dead, but it's a dog for a reason. Placement and promotion. Promotion could be marketing. Promotion could be the team talking about the item, training the team to talk about the item. There's so many different ways to get this puzzle to become a star, because all it's lacking is the popularity. It already has the profitability. If I can get the popularity up, oh man, now I got it as a star. That's where placement and promotion is. Now, plow horses, what do I do? These items are really popular already. Man, how do I make this thing to make some money? Well, there's 3 things you can do here. You can either change the portion size, which a lot of times your portions are huge. You could change the protein, and that might be like, maybe I don't need Wagyu, maybe just Black Angus might do it. Maybe I don't need an 8-ounce steak, maybe a 7-ounce, maybe a 6, Or last resort, I could adjust the price. Now, for a lot of restaurant owners, this is like I can't raise the price. Yeah, you can raise the price. Okay. Plow horses, portion, protein, or price. That's how you fix those. Okay. Only promote and marketing your puzzles and stars. Luke made a note of that, and he will make sure that his team knows we will not promote. If it's not a puzzle or a star, we will not promote it any longer for you. Okay. Now, menu layout and design. He takes notes. See, he's hashtag writing that shit down. See? All right, menu design, menu layout and design, strategic placement. Use insights from item analysis to strategically place items. So high profit, high popularity items go in prime locations. We call it a thing called the golden triangle. I'll show you what that means in a minute. Also highlight items. So when I'm using my puzzles and my stars, now not so many stars because they already are popular already, but mostly for my puzzles, I'm going to use items like boxes. I'm going to use icons. I use different colored fonts. I use like what I call as a 1-point font change is the menu hack I do, menu design hack, where I change the font of one item just 1 point bigger. So it stands out a little bit more, not 2, just 1 point, 1-point font change. Really, really cool. Sometimes I'll change the colors. Sometimes I'll put arrows to it. Sometimes I'll put an icon next to it. Anything I can do to get that thing to get more attention is going to help it increase its sales. Because remember, a puzzle already has the profitability. I just need to get the volume up to make it a star. Okay. So the golden triangle is this kind of concept that our eyeballs kind of move. Like when we look at something, we kind of like focus in the center, and then we move to the right, and then we move to the left. So I want to put stuff that I want to put dishes with the highest profit margin at my triangle tips. So the golden triangle would be like, I put my highly profitable items at like 1, 2, and 3 would be my puzzles. I would put those items there. Remember, your stars are already stars. They don't need any help, but your puzzles need help. If you can increase those puzzles, trust me, your profitability skyrockets because you got stars already and you got puzzles. Okay. Price optimization. Make sure to adjust the pricing based on the categories maximize over profitability. For example, slightly increase the prices of a star item may be feasible without affecting its popularity due to its perceived value. So if you got an item that's like a superstar rock seller, I had a client go with this lately. They have this teriyaki chicken bowl they sell at lunch, and it sells like they sell thousands of them a week. And I said, time to raise the price on that. Oh, but I can't. We sell so many. Yeah, you sell so many because it's a great deal. You give so much food, people think it's a great value. They're not going to balk at another buck. And they were hesitant, but they did it. And what do you think happened? They kept selling them because everyone loves it, right? Don't be afraid to optimize the price, especially on some of your stars, especially if the price hasn't been raised in a while. It's time to raise it up now. Does that mean you have to raise it $1 every time? That's why I like changing my menu. I like looking at my menu every quarter, and I just kind of slightly raise the prices every quarter, like maybe a quarter or 50 cents. You don't have to do $1 every time. Now, if you haven't raised your prices for a long time, right, then it might be time to make some radical changes. And that's why I like having a pricing strategy. And that's like every quarter, I like to have my prices kind of changed up. All right. Cross-referencing and pairing. Again, this is a really cool technique. And a lot of people miss this. Sometimes you can suggest pairings of high profit items with popular items to increase overall sales per order. Remember, guest check average is one of our multiplicative KPIs, a key performance indicator. It is something that really moves the needle. So, for example, I could take a high margin beverage or dessert with maybe a plow horse. So maybe I have a plow horse that's popular, not really profitable. I could pair it up with a high margin beverage or a high margin dessert items, which both of those are pretty good. I have a client in Buffalo, Bailey's Seafood, and he basically started running this roasted vanilla bean lemonade. It's a high profit beverage item. And he pairs it up with a lot of his plow horses. So now when people come to the counter to order, when they order a plow horse, this team's automatically trained to upsell into a lemonade, a roasted vanilla bean lemonade. That way it increases his guest check average, also increases his profit margin without having to having to fight that plow horse that people love. All right. This is a great technique. If you don't remember any techniques from today, hashtag write this one down. Good. Let me say it without having my tongue tied. Cross-referencing and pairings is a beautiful way to increase the sale, increase the guest check average, and increase the profitability overall. Okay. Of course, that menu testing and feedback, you have to regularly test menu items, item placement, pricing strategies to see how they affect everything. Do not just make up prices. It's horrible. Don't just make up prices. Okay. Try to get guest feedback. I like to do small focus groups. Like you should have some VIPs. Most modern POS systems have a report you can run off your modern day POS system called your top 100. Your top 100 is the top 100 people who spend the most money with you. That should be like your VIP circle that you ask for feedback on. And that's the people you want to get their kind of input on what to do, right? Top 100, right? Right? Top 100. Yeah. I saw that question in there about the average for a full service restaurant. Yeah, anywhere from 25 to 35. It all depends on your theoretical food cost. Because if you Google what's the ideal food cost for a restaurant, it'll say 28 to 35. Which, if your theoretical is like, say, and I have people call me every month and say, my food cost is 30%. Is that good? I'll say, I don't know. And they'll say, what do you mean you don't know? I'll say, what's your theoretical? And they go, I don't know. I said, that's the problem. If your theoretical is 28, then 30% food cost is good. But if your theoretical is 21, you got some work to do. Remember, the average restaurant leaves 9% on the table. Okay. Yeah. So it all depends on your theoretical. The first thing I always say is, like, if you want to know what your food cost should be, figure out your theoretical. That's what we call potential. That tells me where your menu, your food cost should be. And a lot of times, I hate to tell you, it's a sad bad day when you figure out what your theoretical is. You're like, oh my God, I'm like 25 points above. Yeah, it's sad. Most restaurants I deal with are usually 10 to 12% above their theoretical when they first figure out what their theoretical is. And they thought they were doing great because, of course, they use Google as a guide. Google gives you general references. You want to know what's specific to your restaurant. That's why coaching is so unique, because we have to apply what's best for your restaurant. I can give you generalizations, but I always want to give you what's best for your restaurant. Okay. So strategic benefits of menu stratification. Number one, it's going to enhance your profitability because you're going to be focused on promoting and optimizing high profit items. It's going to improve the guest experience. A well-organized menu helps guests make satisfying choices quickly, leads to a better dining experience. And also, you're going to make better informed decisions by regularly analyzing your stuff. It's going to give you insights to your menu's performance, which was going to help you guide your future menu changes, and also will help you guide your marketing strategies. Remember, promote your puzzles and stars. Do not promote the plow horses any longer. Menu stratification, menu engineering is not a one-time task. It is an ongoing process. Every quarter, you should be doing this workshop where you go in, get this worksheet, download it, upload the new information, get your new POS report for 90 days, upload it into the spreadsheet, figure out where you're at, make adjustments. All my restaurants and my coaching programs do a menu engineering workshop every quarter, right? And those are the places that are making, I mean, we're averaging right now like 19.8% profit in the accelerator program because they do tools like this, right? So let me give you a little example here. I'm gonna give you a real life case study, and this is a good one. Let me turn my speakers up here. So this is a workshop I did, and I'm going to show you how in just a 45-minute phone call. And I usually, like when clients do menu engineering with me, I take them, when they do their menu engineering, we do a menu engineering workshop. And I take them through their worksheet and we talk about it and we figure out how to increase their bottom line. So once you get the data done, so a lot of times, a lot of people say, all right, I got this worksheet done. Now what? Give it to me. Let me look at it and I'll give you recommendations on how to make it better. Okay. That's what we do. This guy has a pizza place up in Vermont called the Pizza Man. And in just 45 minutes, we added $132,000 back to his bottom line. I'm going to show you exactly how I did it. All right, everyone hold on for something because this is going to be good. Now, let me give you some real case studies here. Okay, this is Shane from the Pizza Man in Vermont. Shane sent me his original food cost sheets. And I'm gonna give you a synopsis of what we did. Okay, the initial worksheet showed high food cost categories on his subs, apps, soups, and salad. Now, again, I'm not looking, when you get your menu engineering worksheet done the first time, I want you to ignore, we'll go to the sub column, ignore this one over here, S. It says menu item class, ignore all these stratifications at first. Okay, because I just want you I want you to have an open mind about it. Because if you start looking at this stuff, start looking at dogs and say, oh my God, I got a lot of dogs. You know, he's also got a lot of stars too. But here's the thing I'm looking at. When I look at these categories, the first thing I'm looking at is this part right here, the food cost percent. Subs at 34%, pretty high. Appetizers at 30% are pretty high, okay? Even his soups and salads, I thought were a little high for his brand. Now his pizzas, you can see, are like jamming. They're like 19% food cost. I mean, that's the money, right? And we know he's a pizza place, so that's good. So when I did this thing, we actually kind of totaled it up. Here's what happened. I found out his theoretical, and looking at theoretical for all of this stuff, his theoretical for everything was around 27% for theoretical, which theoretical is, 27 is not too bad, right? Here's what I know from working with lots and lots of pizza places. 27 is a little high for a theoretical for a pizza place. Now, does that matter? Does that mean that 27 is, reasonable for you? No, we have to look at your menu and decide what your market is too, decide what your thing is. But the big category that caught my eye was this, his subs. So what we did is we went back in
And we eliminated, he had, and if you notice, he had two different size subs. He had an 8-inch and a 12-inch. And what we did, we just did a 10-inch sub. So we eliminated two different size sandwiches, an 8 and a 12. And we basically split the difference. We came up with a 10-inch one. By doing the 10-inch sub only, I'm going to show you what the difference was. By doing just a 10-inch sub, we brought his food cost down from 34.6 to 24.9, just in that category. That's 9 points, 9.9 points in one category only. Just by consolidating, and you saw his crazy number, look at his crazy spreadsheet here. Had all these items fighting with each other. And here's the thing, sometimes you don't think about too. When you have two sandwiches that are the same, but different sizes, they're fighting with each other. This is the definition of menu cannibalization right here. An 8 and a 12, 8 and a 12, they're fighting with each other. So how do we help this out? We basically switch it to one size only. It's a 10-inch sub. You got the 10-inch sub going, changed his food costing overnight, got him down to 24.7 just in that category alone, which is awesome. So then what do we do? Right? And then I went back in and I said, okay, subs and sandwiches are good. What's the next category I think has a little bit of potential? Right? Appetizers. Now, as appetizers, if you look at the chart he had, I'm doing a lot of screen flipping today. Sorry, sorry about it. If you're getting dizzy, I'm sorry. His appetizers were at 30%. Again, I thought that was a little high. So the big thing I looked at here is I started looking at the pricing he had. I was like, oh my God, you know, his pricing is really, really low based on what he was selling his stuff for. And I asked him, when was the last time you raised your menu price? And it had been a while since he raised his menu price. All right. And it's definitely time to take an increase on your menu pricing. So all we did was go in here and adjust his basically his pricing on his appetizers. And by adjusting just the pricing only, that brought his food cost down from 30% to 25.3%. All right, 4.7% brought that category down just by changing the pricing. Because he was way too low, remember. And we'll talk about this again in the Extreme Menu Makeover. We also talk about in marketing, positioning is huge. Are you market driven? Or are you demand driven? Now, he has some other restaurants in his market that have the same stuff. They have mozzarella sticks, nachos, wings, like a lot of places in his market. But he found he was on a really, really low price spectrum of that. So by raising the price, and we didn't do it all at once, we did it gradually over a few months. We did a slight increase with the new menu rollout. We let that kind of get settled in from people before they really noticed. And then after it settled for like about another 60 days and we bumped up a little bit more, then we rolled it out a little bit higher, okay? Brought this category down 4.7%, which is pretty damn good. And then finally, what we did is we looked at his last category, which was his soups and salads. And soups and salads, again, I just adjusted a few prices there. Not everything on his soups and salad was crazy. So all we did is basically go in and look at a few of the pricing. And again, based on market perception, market draw. And he was running at 24.3%. So what I did is just go in and change just a few pricing. I think there was only 4 items we actually changed on pricing here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Changed pricing on 4 items, brought the category down another 1.3%. Pretty cool, right? So what does all this mean as far as the bottom line to you as an operator? When you come in here and use the menu engineering worksheets and understand costing and stuff like that, what it's going to do, it's going to help you kind of understand now your new potential. So let's talk real quick about new theoretical equals new potential. So his old theoretical was 27.2. You've heard me talk about food costing before. You know that it's very, very hard to hit theoretical. You can get within a couple points of theoretical, but it's very, very hard to hit theoretical unless you're doing a lot of catering or you have like a lot of holiday parties and stuff like that. So his old theoretical is 27.2. His new theoretical, we made those adjustments, and now 23.2, 4% improvement just on his theoretical. Okay, so again, now theoretical is theoretical. What does that actually mean in real world to me? So what does that mean to his bottom line? His restaurant does 2.2 million in sales. They ran an actual food cost at the time of 31%. Okay. Now that he understands his theoretical, we can actually start tightening that up. So his annual spend on food was around, for a year, was like 682,000. What does that mean? That means if they follow traditional advice and just try to get within 2% of their old theoretical food cost at a 29% food cost, they would spend 638,000. That's you know, a lot of people are like, wow, it's $44,000 in my bank account. I'll take 44 grand. I'll say, you know what? That's good, but we can do better. By really dialing in and tightening up and pushing his theoretical food cost to a little bit high, you know, a little bit tighter percent, here's what it actually meant to him as far as money. If they aim to get within 2% of their new theoretical, which is 23.2, their new food cost goal would be now 25%. That puts back 132,000 to the bottom line. I mean, I'm going to ask you just point blank, would you rather have 44,000 or $132,000?
So I'm gonna wrap this up with a story time with the restaurant coach. So the old man, the boy, and the donkey. So an old man, the boy, and the donkey. And this is my favorite story about menus. And this is a perfect analogy or story or fable about how most restaurant owners treat their menu. The old man, the boy, and the donkey. The old man, the boy, and the donkey decided to go to town. So the old man walked next to the boy who rode the donkey. They're walking along on the way to town, and they pass some travelers who say, wow, it's kind of a shame that old man has to walk and that young boy gets to ride the donkey. So they thought, well, shit, maybe they're right. So they switched spaces. They switched places. So they're going along. Old man's riding, young boy's walking, and they pass some other travelers saying, oh my God, he makes that little boy walk by himself. That's so mean and so cruel. And they think, oh, maybe those people are right. So they decide to both ride. So they're both riding the donkey and they're riding along, and all of a sudden they pass some other travelers, say, oh, how mean and cruel that they both ride that poor old donkey and bear all that weight on that poor donkey. And they thought, maybe they're right. They decide to carry the donkey. So they're carrying the donkey. They're crossing the bridge into town. They slip. They drop the donkey into the river, and the donkey drowns. The moral of the story: when you try to please everyone, you might as well kiss your ass goodbye. That's how menus are. All right. Don't try to please everybody. Make sure that you are following menu engineering and doing it the right way. For everyone who showed up today, I will make sure Luke has access to my menu design Bible, 87 pages of all the fantastic stuff you need to get going in the right direction. Now, let me ask you a question. If I dropped you off in the middle of the woods and just said, here's a bottle of water, make it back to civilization, do you think you can make it back? Probably not. But here's the thing. If I gave you a topographical map and a compass, and I showed you how to use the map and the compass, could you get back to civilization? Yes. For the last 14 years, coaching programs like the one we offer have helped over 20 independent restaurants, just like you guys have, right? Coaching provides two powerful critical elements for rapid success: accountability and options. Remember, it's one thing to look at a menu engineering worksheet. It's another thing to say, how do I make this menu engineering worksheet work for my brand? That's what we offer with that Restaurant Accelerator program. The Restaurant Accelerator program is my step-by-step roadmap. Just like I said, this is the roadmap. This is the map. Coaching is the compass. And we try to load this thing up with all the tools you need to be successful. I'm not going to beat it up too bad. Probably the two most powerful ones we talked about what we did today was the Food Cost Boot Camp and the Extreme Menu Makeover. But it's over 200 hours of material, 200 hours of training, plus 380 downloads. And I'm not going to do a heavy pitch. If you want to learn more about it, just reach out to someone on the restaurant growth team and they can help you. Okay. So open the door up real quick. If you have any questions, anybody have any Q&A? Any
And
questions?
you guys, Donald, thank you. That was great. If anybody wants to join the coaching program and learn more about it, I'm going to toss a link in the group chat here right now. You can click that. You can actually sign up on that page and everything. So got to be doing at least 60,000 a month USD, 60,000 a month USD to join the coaching program. What is it, Donald? About the first 90 days, you guys are able to get about a 5 to 8% boost in margin, right?
Yeah. Oh, easy. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, if your margins are less than 12%, you got some operational stuff that you need help with.
Low
It's
hanging-
pretty cool. You're basically hiring a co-CEO at your restaurant.
Exactly.
So Donald's got a team of certified restaurant coaches as well. So I tossed a link down there in the chat, guys. We also offer financing. If you guys are in the US, we offer financing. So you can finance a program down to, as low as a couple hundred, but a couple $100 a month. So a bunch of options for you guys if you want to take advantage of that. And yes, we have some time for questions as well. So guys, if you have any questions at all, whatever it may be, put them in the chat box below.
What is more important, percentage or contribution margins? So just remember, you don't take percents to the bank. You take dollars to the bank. So a lot of times when people look at percentages and looking at contribution margins versus percentages, I always say, like, what's the overall kind of structure? That's why that menu engineering thing is so important, because like my steakhouses, I mean, you sell a steak, it's sometimes 65, 70 bucks a steak, but the food cost is really high. As far as contribution, it contributes a lot to the bottom line as far as the sales, but as far as percentages, it doesn't contribute a lot. That's why you got to look at the blend of everything. That's why that menu engineering is so powerful, because like my steakhouses, I have to tell them, like, you just can't sell steaks. You got to sell appetizers. You got to sell some beverages. You got to sell some cocktails. You got to sell some of those specialty cocktails that have the high profit margin for you. You got to sell those desserts. You got to sell those sides, those $12 sides for the table. You got to sell all this stuff with it. You can't just sell one-offs. All right. So it's about the blended mix that really, really matters. And it also depends on your mix too. Also goes back to what we call as your menu mix. What is your food to beverage sales ratio? That's another huge thing that contributes to your profit margin. That also can be manipulated too. That's more advanced prime cost stuff that we talk about, but it actually can be manipulated too. And that's like my taverns. I coach some taverns. My taverns do a 40% profit margin, but they're doing, 80% beverage, 20% food. Most restaurants do 8% food, 20% beverage. So, yeah. Gluten-free is a big thing right now. My girlfriend has a gluten allergy. So gluten is a big thing. Any kind of allergies that can help you, just knowing the dietary restraints or how you could do something gluten-free on your menu, or maybe you don't have a totally dedicated fryer for stuff like that, but being authentic and transparent, not lying, say, oh yeah, we can do gluten-free, and then you throw it in a fryer that had gluten in there and you get someone sick. I mean, just being authentic about it is the best thing. Yeah.
Guys, if you've got any questions at all, put them in the chat box below, or you can actually raise your hand and we can get you speaking on here as well if you want to ask a question.
Prices continue to climb. We see things in it, but it feels like it's becoming an issue. Yes, that's why it's good to have a strategic plan for your menu pricing. And that's why I like to quarterly implement stuff. Not panic when things start going up right away, but I know in the next quarter, when I do my menu review, my menu engineering, I'm going to take a strategic price hit and stuff like that. And then I'm also looking at inflation fatigue. Also means that there's some items on my menu I might have to just retire for a while. I always like to say I give them a vacation, especially if the costing gets to the point where I can't really menu it any longer. So that's why having a solid quarterly, monthly menu review time, a real menu strategic planning workshop with yourself and with your coach is really, really critical. Say what items are hit, what are missed, what are we doing better, what do we have to take off, how can we readjust this stuff every quarter? Yeah, inflation fatigue is serious, but also why you want to have a strategic plan. You don't want to make like every, like if you're only changing your menu price a year, you're going to have big menu jumps as far as pricing. That's going to be sticker shock, which is going to alienate people. It's better to have smaller increases quarterly, 25, 50 cents, maybe $1 if you have to. Or if it just gets to a point where I just can't menu that thing effectively, it's time to give it a break for a while. And you let your team get innovative and creative and come up with some new items. All kinds of alternative meat cuts out there, all kinds of alternative things you can do. It's never a lack of creativity. I would say it's never a lack of resources, just resourcefulness. Anything else?
Guys, got a few moments left for questions.
How many items should a menu have? Ideally, I mean, if you want to have a number per se, they say the ideal category is like 7 items per category. But it depends. I mean, if you're a pizza place, you're not going to have just 7 pizzas. If you're a Chinese restaurant, you're not going to have just 7, you're going to have your menu's going to be a little bit different. I would say like send me if you want to email me your menu. I'm more than happy. Like part of this webinar stuff is I'm more than happy to look at stuff also. Okay. You can always email me, donald@therestaurantcoach.com. I'm more than happy to take a look at it. I'll give you some feedback. Categories, it depends on your brand. So Javier, what kind of restaurant are you? Pizza place. Yeah, pizza place usually has appetizers, usually has salads, usually have some subs, and usually have their pizzas. And then they have desserts. Pizza places can easily go upside down when they try to be a pizza Italian place. When they have like 25 different pastas, plus 25 different pizzas, plus all different types of subs. Decide what you are. Are you a pizza place that has subs, or are you a sub place that has pizzas? Yeah, like I said, email it over to me.
I think Elisa meant Donald's email.
Darren, I've been called Darren Doug. Don't worry, Lisa. I've been called other things too, so don't worry.
Christian, the recording will be available within a day or two. It'll be in the portal here.
Yeah, and I'll send that menu design Bible over to Luke, and he can make sure he gets it distributed out to people who are on the call today. So yeah, it's a nice little workbook. 88, I think it's 87 pages. All kinds of great little tools in there. It's really good stuff in there. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be awesome.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Next week we're doing too, right?
Yeah, next week we're going to be doing what's on the menu next week. We're doing accountability and operational checklists.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you ever have a problem getting people to follow your checklist, tune in next week. I'll show you how to get people to buy in and do your checklist the way you want them to.
Yeah. Christian, what part of the portal? Christian, on the portal, we've got a section under trainings and under courses. There's a section called the 3P framework and the TRC method. So all of these webinars that Donald's doing with us is going to be underneath that program there.
Cool.
Underneath that section.
And I'm in the webinar community too, so you can always reach out. You always DM me on there. Yeah, I'm in the portal, so I'm in the group. I'm in the community, so you find me. You can reach out and ask me questions. Please, I'm here to help you.
We're also going to be starting a Slack channel here
cool.
for all of our clients and webinar clients too. So if you guys have questions, you're running into difficulties, this is going to be a really, really nice place for you guys to connect with other restaurant owners and have that mastermind to help each other out. So we'll be starting that really soon here and get everybody an invite to Slack there.
Awesome.
All righty, guys. Donald, anything else? We're good here.
I appreciate you guys so much. Thanks for being here today. Thanks for taking time out of your day to spend some time with Luke and I. We really appreciate it. We really do.
Yeah. Thank you all for being here. We will see you all next week, same day, same time.
Sounds great.
All righty. Thanks, Donald.
Yeah.
You guys, bye.